Hell yeah, hell yeah. So, Sky,
Yeah.
want to find out, brother. So, how did it all go about? Like when you started this, did you set up from day one, you know, preparing to sell this business in the long run?
Absolutely, man. There's plenty of books out there or the best thing I could tell anybody in here is mentorship is key. You know what I mean? Like coaching is key. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a coach or a mentor. I don't got to be your coach or mentor, but everybody wants the key to success. Everybody wants like, what's that secret? It's finding people that are way ahead of you and going that route, literally copying everything they do and listening and busting your ass. But off of that, you need to build to sell is what's in mind because you know, when you're building a business, there's only one way to go, and that's up. You're going to have downtimes, and you kind of measure your business on the low points, not the high points. You just always want to make sure you're kind of going up, even if you're dipping. And so, when you're thinking of building a business, there needs to be an end in near, whether that's 5 years or whether that's 30 years. Either way, it doesn't matter because building a business to sell is the ultimate goal. If you're not selling it, then really what you're doing is you're just building a job to work for yourself. And in that case, you should probably just be a solopreneur, do something like handyman work or keep it a one truck operation. But eventually, when you're out there in the field doing it, it's only a matter of time before you get hurt, right? Like no matter what you do, if you're doing manual labor, it's either going to be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. There's going to be a time, and then you understand that wow, I don't have a business. I really just have a job I work. So in my head, yes, junk removal wasn't something I necessarily wanted to do for 20 years. I did want to, I was at the point to where if I had spent another year and a half, I could probably franchise at that point. You know what I mean? And so I had to make a decision. I had a really, really good offer on the business. Wish I could talk a little bit more about it, but due to the way that our contract set up, I wish it was set up like Andrew Thompson's and these guys out here where I could just say everything, but got to respect the new owner's wishes and what we agreed upon. But Fly by Junk Hauler still operates in Greater Cleveland. It's an awesome company. He's growing it. The new owner is growing it. It looks great. But it was always in my mind to either to franchise it and end up selling later, or to sell it when it was the position that it was at.
Now, can you give me some tips? Like, what were some things that you had in place from day one? Because, a lot of things like what I see is when people start their business, they don't set it up to sell it, and
Yeah.
then like I'm just like scratching my head, like, why wouldn't you do that? It's just a little more details you got to do and a little more effort, but
Yeah.
you could have everything, all the paperwork nice, all the accountant nice, have bookkeeping and just from day one, if you have that mindset, you're increasing your value of a business, you know what I mean? So like what is some good tips that somebody that just starting off with might not know that you could kind of fill them in?
Absolutely. Well, I try not to be too hard on people because you only know what you know. In my business now with Junk Success, we have a lot of people that reach out to us and my team that message us and they're like, why would I need to spend 5 to 10K when I could go buy a trailer? Why would I need to spend that with you when I could go spend this on equipment? That's stupid. It's just junk removal. And it's like, yeah, it's just junk removal. But do you have any experience running a multi 6 figure, 7 figure business? Are you good in sales? Are you good in marketing? The actual part that counts. See, buying equipment, insurance, logo, name, uniforms, the jobs, that's what's easy. Running the business is the hardest part. Like most people don't have business experience. And so most people don't know that they need to have in mind, like, oh, maybe I really should be focusing on my books. Maybe I really should be focusing on having 5-star reviews and not cursing somebody out when they try to Jew me down on price. You know what I'm saying? And really look professional and keep things clean because at the end of the day, let's say you're $1 million junk removal business and you've been working in it for 10 or 15 years. Just because you make $1 million, it doesn't mean that it's sellable. I want to say like over 90% of businesses do not sell. I sold mine in 3.5 years on a multiple. You know what I'm saying? And I had no issue selling it. And so most people, I've seen companies do 5 million plus that aren't really sellable. So some tips that I have is keep clean books, really pay attention to your KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators. This is your income, your expenses, your advertising outlets, which advertising outlet is making you money. So let me give you an example. If you're running Facebook ads and Google ads, you have 500 in each bucket. Facebook ads makes you 5,000, Google ads makes you 200. Well, you have a 10x return on your Facebook ads and you have a nothing return basically on your Google ads. Let's take that $500 bucket and put it into this one. That's a KPI. That's an indicator saying stay out of this, get here. For people that, don't know, if you're making, under $400,000 a year, your profit margin should be around 50 to 55%, if not more, net profit. If you're over 500,000, maybe up to $1 million in that area, you're probably good around 40, If you're really working around there, 45 even for some. So you want to pay attention to your KPIs, your profit margin, clean your books up, present yourself well, and remember that you are your fate. Like you're your reputation online. Your website, your reviews, that says everything about you, right? So you want to keep a real clean appearance and a real clean reputation for somebody that may buy your business. You're looking to sell it. Let's say, I see it all the time. I used to see it in Facebook groups, be people that have like a part of a franchise and like, hey guys, I'm parting all this stuff out. We're getting out of the business. And it's like, what's the reason? Well, we don't have a great return. We're not making a lot of money on profit. Well, that's one of those things where it's like, you could do things on your own, but if you would have had somebody show you what your profit should look like and how to stay above that, you might have could have sold this $400,000 a year business for $400,000 when you exit, instead of exiting and not having anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. And how did that process go? So you contacted a broker and like kind of was like had a middleman, work out the whole deal?
Yeah. So I actually had a business broker because I had people interested. People used to watch my YouTube, man, and they asked, will you franchise? Most people don't know for you to franchise, you need to have at least about a $1.5 million more operation, because at that level, you have SOPs, you have training, you have profitability, mostly if you're doing things the right way. And you have to replicate what you have here to go here, here, and here. That's franchising. And most people don't know that in franchising, you don't make a lot of money for a long time. It sounds good, but it's really a lot of hard work.
What is the percentage the broker takes from the sale?
Usually around 10%, depending on the size of the deal. So you sell your junk removal business for $1 million, they're gonna get a lick off of it. But they're the ones that shop it out for you. They're the ones that know everything you need. That's not where you want to be cheap, guys. You don't want to be cheap and try to do it yourself, because you'll get in trouble, or you might get hoaxed by the other person's attorney when you're selling the business. So you want to make sure you have clean work, you have clean representation, and then you can also write that off anyway. If you're getting a $900,000 or $1 million check, you got to pay taxes. You might as well give it to the company that helps you instead of having to give it back to the IRS, if that makes sense.
Yes. And now when you're dealing with that broker, does he do the majority of the work? Is it like a lot of work for you to do, or that's kind of like the broker's job? It's kind of make it easy for you.
You really want to look at a broker like more of a simple accountant, or like an accountant on the selling side. Do you have clean books? You got to get your books over to them. What are all the assets that you own? Go ahead and get that over to the broker. Are you making what you said you made? What did you say you made on paper? What are you looking to get? What's the multiple? So for all those people that don't know what a multiple is, it's basically what times what can you sell your business for? If you're making $250,000 in profit, if you sell that at 3x multiple, that's 3 times $250,000 in profit. Right. So what is it going for in the area? And then they're going to shop it out there. They're going to put it on certain sites. They may have connections of people who buy businesses, and they call them and say, hey, I've got a hell of a junk removal company that's listed for sale. And that's, essentially that's how I sold mine.
Would you recommend also getting a lawyer?
Oh, 100%. You got to have a lawyer. You
Okay.
absolutely 100% need a lawyer. And depending on how long this they'll take. So, dude, I listed my business in like a February, March, and the business sold, money collected and everything, by like a June. So maybe like 3-4 months. Most business deals are going to take 6 months to a year. 6 months is usually pretty quick, right?
Okay.
And so I had a motivated buyer. I was motivated. We went back and forth on some things, and it ended up working out.
What's the sweet spot to sell? I know it's like, I think it's like 5 years or like 10 years. It raises the multiples. So like, where's like the max? Like you're going to get the max multiple.
I've helped some people in the junk removal company sell their junk removal business, believe it or not. People on YouTube, people outside of YouTube and stuff, like, they came to me to ask how I did it. And I don't know if there's a sweet spot. You definitely want to be in business probably for at least 3 years to show that it's a real business and that it's just, you're not just getting lucky, but you really want to pay attention to the profit margins, right? So something like, a lot of us want to save money on our taxes. Let's say I'm making $1 million a year in my junk removal business, and profitability, I made 400,000. But I'm having my CPA write it down that I only made 80,000, so I don't got to pay no taxes. You don't want to do that if you're selling the next year, because that shows your bottom line at almost nothing, like at 8%. What you want to do is you want to pay more taxes the year before. And first of all, I'm not a licensed professional, guys, right? So this is not advice. Seek professional advice. I want to tell you guys that. So, but I would say in certain situations I've seen, what you want to do is make sure you're showing more profit, right? And your CPAs can do certain things, move them certain places, so you don't have to pay so much taxes before you sell that, if that makes sense.
Okay. And one last question on this is,
Yeah.
how long did you go with business without having any employees?
I'll tell you what, man, I went about 10, 11 months. I had the two $30,000 months that I had in month 10 and 11. Me, my girl would help me. We had a newborn sometimes, newborn, Leilani, she'd be in the car, listening to music, got the truck windows down. And really month 11 is when I'd have friends, a couple of my buddies would help here and there. But until I really got a true part-time employee, it was right at year one. Thank goodness I had Michaela, my lady, to be over there to help me, because if I didn't, it probably would have been a little bit harder.
The reason why I asked that is a lot of people don't know about this, and this is something that I was talking with my accountant, and he thinks it's a great idea. Is when you have no employees and it's just maybe you and your spouse or whatever. Something
Yeah.
you might want to look into is a solo 401k. It's
Yeah.
something you could really, really take advantage of, and you could, I think it's like 55,000 you could put away. I think it's
Hmm.
each person a year, and you could only do that when you have no employees. So
Yep.
for those guys that are just running their business by themselves, definitely go talk to your accountant about this, and you'll thank me later. You'll be able to save a lot of money and make some magic moves. And so Julio, that's one of those tricks you could pull and make some money and all that.